My name is Katie Coleman. I'm a stage 4 kidney cancer patient and survivor and the president and founder of the Chromophobe and Oncocytic Tumor Alliance. I was diagnosed in December of 2020. I was stage 4 at the time of diagnosis. And so I think I would describe my patient journey as kind of an evolution of sorts. I didn't have a great prognosis in the beginning, but through a number of different options, both pursuing second opinions, I was on treatment for a short period of time, and then eventually I made it to a very large surgery that changed kind of everything for me. I currently have no active cancer, and I'm just on active surveillance after both being on treatment and a very large surgery that got me there. And so it was kind of an evolution between going through this stage of my life. I was 29 when I was diagnosed, and so kind of felt like the rug got pulled out from under me to where I am today, knowing how fortunate I am to still be here, and I've now kind of dedicated my life to giving back and trying to make things better for other patients now, because I know how truly fortunate I am to be in the position that I am. I faced many challenges along the way. I think two that stand out the most to me is probably the mental battle that it takes when you are diagnosed with cancer. That is one of the very first things that I think any patient, no matter what stage you are diagnosed at, the first time you hear the words that you have cancer is life-changing and devastating. And there is such a mental battle that comes from receiving a cancer diagnosis that as you move along through treatment, surgeries, and all of that, I don't know that it's always the most well recognized. And so the biggest thing that helped me as a newly diagnosed patient that I always recommend to other patients is to reach out and connect with other patients, either through support groups. The KCA has a great support group for patients, or connecting with other advocates in the space. Somebody else who has gone through similar experiences can really help with that part of things. And there's nothing that can replace that bond that you get from another patient and that support. So I think that can help with the mental battle that comes from facing cancer. But the second piece of advice probably for other patients and that impacted me was going for second opinions, especially if you have a rare type of kidney cancer. So making sure that you are getting to the right treatments is really important. And if you have a rare cancer, a lot of times that can mean trying to research the doctors that study your type of cancer so that you can find which treatments may work best in your case. For me, I ended up going for several second opinions until I found a team that I was comfortable with, and that kind of changed everything for me. I have an ultra rare cancer, so my case is very rare and unique, but each type of kidney cancer responds differently to treatment, and so it can be really important to know the type of kidney cancer you have. So knowing the subtype, is it chromophobe, is it clear cell, is it papillary? Those are really important pieces of information to know. And then the next step is kind of checking to see if your doctor has seen very many patients with that type of cancer. And if they haven't, that might be a sign to check into a second opinion just to make sure that you are receiving the best type of treatment for your type of kidney cancer. Support groups are an incredible resource for patients. So I found support through the KCA, through some of those support groups and connecting with patients online. But also, as I started my nonprofit, COA, the Chromophobe and Oncocytic Tumor Alliance, the KCA has been crucial in partnering with a lot of those initiatives. So for me, as I shifted away from being on active treatment and more in the advocacy space, there's programs like COA, my nonprofit. I wouldn't be able to drive near the same impact without the collaborations with the Kidney Cancer Association. We partnered on a grant this year, and so COA funded half of the grant and KCA funded the other half, and that gave us a $75,000 grant to help move research forward for chromophobe kidney cancer, a rare type of kidney cancer. Those kinds of collaborations wouldn't happen without the support of the KCA, and together we can just amplify the support that we can bring to other patients. And so I think they're an incredible resource for patients who want to share their story, who want to connect with others, and they drive an impact and really kind of lead the space in collaboration and ensuring that everyone has a place to share their story and for their voice to be heard, to be able to help move things forward. Our mission at the Chromophobe and Oncocytic Tumor Alliance, COA, since that's often a mouthful, is to be able to move research for chromophobe kidney cancer and other oncocytic tumors as well too. But chromophobe kidney cancer is one of the rare types of kidney cancer, and even up until a couple of years ago, there wasn't a lot of research that was done on it, and a lot of that comes from a lack of funding to be able to fund the research for it. And there also aren't any dedicated treatment options tailored to its biology. And so as I was going through my diagnosis, there was a brief period of time that we thought I might have actually had chromophobe kidney cancer. My type of tumor is a metastatic oncocytoma. It's very rare, there's kind of single-digit case reports of it, but it shares a lot of similarities and commonalities with chromophobe kidney cancer. And so when I was initially diagnosed, I connected with a group of other patients that had chromophobe kidney cancer, and we kind of all learned about this disease together. We learned how limited the treatment options were, how limited the resources were, and we started creating this effort to move research forward for chromophobe kidney cancer. And then about a year into my diagnosis, a year or two into my diagnosis, I recognized the efforts that having dedicated champions to a disease can really make. And so instead of kind of all banding together in various efforts, I created the Chromophobe and Oncocytic Tumor Alliance to create a dedicated resource that can help both patients and researchers kind of move this disease along so that we can bring better treatments to patients with chromophobe kidney cancer. So our mission is to kind of use collaboration in all the best ways, collaborating with patients, researchers, the Kidney Cancer Association, basically all the organizations in the space. We really want to be able to amplify others' efforts while really focusing in and championing on chromophobe kidney cancer to help make sure that it doesn't get left behind and we can continue to move it along. I wrote a memoir called Too Young for Cancer. It is released on November 12th. And it is about my diagnosis, kind of the early stages of when I was initially diagnosed. It took about 1.5 years to get diagnosed. And I heard often during that phase of time that I was too young for cancer. And so as I was diagnosed in the ER at 29, those are the only words that were looping in my head. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be strong enough to make it through this. And so that's really the focus of my book, is I wanted to make sure that I didn't hide those parts. It's really easy to paint a rose-colored view of everything that's happened where I'm at now, because I'm in a really good place, and it would have been easy to tell that story as if I had strength the entire time, but I thought that would be a huge disservice to other patients who have gone through the process and know that it's a mental battle and journey to go through that. So I wrote my memoir to highlight a lot of those things and share the very real, transparent process of being diagnosed for me with an ultra rare cancer, what that was like, even the mental journey that came along with that, and how that got me to where I am now, where I have dedicated so much of my life to giving back. So I donated my book deal. I donate my full portion of the proceeds back to research as well too. And so I really hope that it just helps other patients know that they're not alone. And if they've ever felt any of those things, that they can know that somebody else has gone through that as well too. So Too Young for Cancer comes out November 12th. And then I also have a podcast called Oncology Unscripted. That is a podcast with myself, another patient with a rare cancer. She actually had a sarcoma, and then a radiation oncologist. And so we all bring this podcast together to be able to have candid conversations around cancer that both apply to be able to be shared with medical professionals as well as patients. And so that's why we kind of have a mixed co-host. So getting involved and giving back has completely changed and refocused my entire life. It's given me a lot of purpose. As you go through a cancer diagnosis, especially if you're diagnosed young, it shifts your entire life and the trajectory of what you expected for your life. And I have found a lot of purpose in getting involved and giving back to try to help make things easier for other patients. And there's this sense of community that comes with that and a sense of belonging, that you are welcomed into a space where other people know what it's like to have a lot of those same experiences and to all collectively want to make things better for other people. And so I get a lot of meaning out of that for my life. For me personally, it was a very pivotal moment in my diagnosis. I had a very rare cancer. We didn't think it was going to respond very much to treatment, and so surgery looked like it was going to be my best option once I finally got to surgery. It was very high risk, and it was kind of on the line for a minute, and so we weren't really sure if I was going to be able to, one, make it through that surgery, and then what the outcome would be afterwards from it. And so I made a promise to myself that if I made it to and through that surgery, that I would use whatever time it did give me, because we weren't sure how much time it would give me. I would dedicate any time that I was given back to other patients. And it's crazy when people ask me now if I would ever go back to the life that I had before I was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm so much happier now, which seems like such a paradoxical thing to say. A lot of people can't understand how you could be happier after having a cancer diagnosis, especially stage 4. But I think so much of that is giving back. I've found a lot of purpose in giving back and helping others. And I feel so incredibly grateful for where I'm at today, the physicians that helped get me here, that I want to be able to see more of that for other people as well too. And it's difficult to describe the amount of meaning that can bring to your life when you do that. So I think the biggest thing that I think has been a huge impact that I've seen even evolve since my diagnosis, that I've really appreciated about the KCA, is the collaboration, how much they work with other organizations to be able to increase the impact that they can have, but also how much they work with patients. As a patient, I remember wanting to get involved and wanting to help, but not really knowing how I could or where to start, how to even begin to advocate. And the KCA has so many incredible programs for patients to be able to advocate or share their story in any way that they're comfortable. So it can be something as simple as reaching out to them through social media and then maybe sharing a story, maybe sharing in your, they have a blog where they share a bunch of patient stories. And so if a patient reaches out to the KCA, they can possibly have their story included in the blog. And that can be a really great first step for somebody who wants to get involved in advocacy, kind of your first step in sharing your story. You never know when that might help somebody else who's in similar shoes or may relate to your story. And then they also have various fundraising programs that are a really great way for patients to get involved but not have to do it all on their own. So this last year, for example, they did the 82K challenge. It's meant to represent the 82,000 patients that will be diagnosed with kidney cancer each year. And for that, patients were able to kind of put together these fundraisers in their own city, and the Kidney Cancer Association helped provide some flyers and some resources to be able to have at that event. So they were able to organize their communities, their family, their friends, anybody in their community who might want to come together and put on this event, but they didn't have to do it alone because the Kidney Cancer Association could help provide some resources to be able to give them materials to give out at those events and those kinds of things. And I think as a patient who's been there before and knows how hard it is to try to start something when you want to give back, but you're not really sure how to yet, having that support, having those resources and that collaboration, the Kidney Cancer Association's kind of motto is strong alone, unstoppable together. And they truly live by that. And these programs and these fundraising efforts, they stand behind that and they support patients in these as kind of you move along together. So I think that has been a really impactful program that I've seen the KCA do, are these fundraisers and really including patients in driving those forward and supporting them to make sure that if they want to advocate, they can do it in kind of any avenue that they may want to. And then the other side of it is as I've gotten more involved in advocacy and kind of pivoted my career even more into the space, I think one of the biggest things that I've seen is their dedication to research. So that's both through funding grants. They fund grants themselves as well as they partner with organizations, so partnering with COA to fund a grant, for example, for chromophobe kidney cancer. They're making a lot of movement for research through those efforts, but they also come together and do things like the think tank. So when I joined yesterday, we got together and got a bunch of experts in the field together, and we were all able to have a conversation in a think tank to talk about really important issues to move research in the field forward together as well too. So they're leaders in so many different ways, not just from a patient perspective, but moving research forward. And they do a really good job of pulling all of those things together and making sure that patients are included at the table. So the fact that I was even included in the think tank as a patient advocate and being able to voice for patients in those conversations is really important. And so that's something that I've really appreciated about their approach, is that they're kind of fully encompass everything that it takes to be a part of this community.